Hey guys, welcome to lesson number 5. Now we have a lot of objects here and it's looking very good, but now it's time to create the mill. The mill will go right here between the mountains and the trees. And now let's go to a new document, and guess what? We're going to create a cube. Now let's see what we can do about it. First, with this cube, let's add some more segments to it, maybe 10 segments on each axis is enough. Let's see, I think 10 is enough. Okay, now make this editable, and here's what I'm going to do. I want this to look like some kind of pyramid, so I'm going to take my live selection tool, the polygon selection, and I'm going to take one part, one side, the right side of our cube, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to press the R to select my rotation tool, and I'm going to rotate this part just a little bit until it hits the other edges like this. Now we will have this shape like this. Now let's repeat the same process for the other side, the left side. Take your live selection, grab all these polygons. Now change to rotation tool and rotate until it bends like this, until it hits this point. Okay, now it's looking good. We can increase the size a little bit, maybe make it a little bit shorter and wider like this. Okay, this is good. Now it's time to create a little door here on our object. Now to create this little door, I'm going to select my live selection tool, and I'm going to select 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4 polygons here. Now with this selected, let's go to layout and go to modeling. Now go to extrude and click on new transform. Now when you click on new transform, you can take the Z axis here, you can see the blue arrow, and take it a little bit to the back. Now make sure that on offset, so that we don't make any mistake on offset, set it to 0, and now click on new transform and take the blue arrow and bring it to the back just a little bit, so that we have some depth into this object. Okay, this is cool. Yeah, this is fine. So we have our first shape with the little door here. Now what I want to do is, when I start getting materials into this mill, I want this door, for example, to have a different color than the rest of the cube. So if I want to do that, I have to necessarily split these polygons, because otherwise, let's try this. For example, let's set it to standard, and let's create a material. Let's say it's a red material. If I drag this material to the cube, it will paint everything, and I don't want that. I want a different color here and a different color on the door. So I'm going to take this, and with this door selected, I'm going to select the rest of the polygons, all of this. Make sure all of this is selected. Now go to mesh. Now go to commands and select a split. When you do that, you will have two objects. One object is the entire cube, and the other object is the door. So we can call this door, and we can call this mill base. And now if I place a color here, you can see that we can have two different colors on our object. Cool, right? So let's delete these materials for now. Oh, let's leave them because later on I'm going to try another thing. But well, we have the mill base and the door. Now let's continue to create the mill. Create another cube and place it on top of our base. Of course, we have to make it smaller with our scale tool. Can be even smaller, like this, okay, and make it much taller. This is good. Maybe move it a little bit to the top. Okay, now we have this cube and we need to add a lot of segments to it. Let's add maybe 20 on each side. Yeah, I think 20 is enough. Now make this editable, and we're going to take the live selection tool, or even better, let's go to select and select the ring selection. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take these top polygons. You can see that with the ring selection I took all of this, and that's exactly what I want. Now take this line, also this one, and finally this one. So you will have some kind of frame over all the parts of this cube. Now with this selected, go to modeling again, go select extrude and click on new transform. Now change the offset to 13 and click on apply. Now you have these shapes which look really nice. Now again, with this selected, click again on rig selection and try to select all of these objects. Like this. And later we will split all of these. Mesh, commands, split. Now let's try what we did before. If I color this, I will only color these objects. So that's exactly what I want to do. So this could be called, let's call this frame. I know it's not a frame itself, but let's call these frames. And this can be like the tower of the mill. Okay, now go again and create a cube. Place it on the top. Now make this editable. Select the top one and change the size like this to create a little cone and change this to the bottom. We can even make this smaller, take it a little bit to the top, and start playing with the size. Maybe make this wider, like this. Okay, this looks very good. Now the next part is really simple. Let's call this top. Now we're going to create the little fan like that goes on top of the mill. I think it's called vane or something. You know, that the ones that look like a fan. Now it's time to create that. So to create that, it's actually not so difficult. Let's create a cube. Let's take this cube here, and let's create like a simple stick. Try to make it very flat, like this. It will look like some plank. Okay, now with this, create a subdivision surface and throw the cube inside this subdivision surface, and add some more segments to the y-axis. Let's add 4 segments. Okay, now the subdivision surface, we need to make this subdivision editor to 5 so that it's rounder. Okay, this looks good. Now make this editable and just keep the cube. Now that we have this, go to sculpting and select the inflate tool, and inflate just a little bit of these parts. It will start looking like this. Just make a very subtle pass around this point so that the shape isn't so symmetrical. Okay, now that we have this, it's time to create the duplicates. And to create the duplicates, let's go to standard so that we don't have anything on our way. We're going to MoGraph and select cloner. Now the cloner, what it does is, of course, clone the object that you have created. So we need to take this cube into the cloner. Now the cloner is probably on another part. You can see it's here. Let's move it where we can see it. And right now the cloner, you can see that it created some duplicates, but one on top of the other. So we need to first select on mode, grab your cloner tool, of course, and on mode, instead of linear, select radial. Now you will have this. Now go to the radius and let's open this up a little bit until you have something like this. Alright, now for the cube, let's change a little bit the size by going to the cloner, go to transform, and let's decrease the size of the y-axis. Now you can see that when we decrease the size, we need to fix the radius a little bit, like this. Now this looks good, but I want to fix something on the cube. I'm going to take it out of the cloner and I want to make this a little bit curvy on this point, so I'm going to take the cube and I'm going to take my ring selection tool, and I'm going to select the lower rings just like this. Now select your scale tool and decrease the size just a little bit until you have this shape. Exactly. Now create a subdivision surface and throw the cube into the subdivision surface and make it with 5 subdivisions, or maybe a little bit less, maybe 4. Okay, now we have this shape. Again, make it editable, and now drag it again to the cloner, and let's see how it looks now. Yeah, this definitely looks way better now. Now create a sphere, or first let's move this cloner to where it's supposed to be, which is right in front of the mill. And of course this is supposed to be much bigger, like this. Now finally create a sphere and I'm going to place it here. Make this sphere 100 segments, and let's decrease the size maybe to, I think, 35. It's good. Okay, like this is very good. Now we have a mill. Maybe we can decrease a little bit the size of the fence, like this. Okay. Now group everything. Let's call this mill, and let's place it on. Here's perfect. Now let's just put it a little bit to the top, and here's the perfect placement for our mill. Don't worry about the cloner being color, because later on we are going to change the color of that cloner. Okay, that's it for the mill. Now it's time to continue modeling all the rest of the objects for this little planet. Let's go.